How old is that honeybee you see in your garden? When do bees start to fly out of the hive? Do honeybees poop? Do they dance? Which honeybees sting? Did you know that honeybees have different jobs based on how old they are? Who and what are the vanguards of the hive? What's the difference between summer honeybees and winter honeybees? Hello friends, this is John from Two Doves. We're going to answer all of those questions and share some interesting facts about honeybees and the jobs they do. Firstly, there are three main types of bees in a honeybee colony: worker bees, drones, and a queen. Each type of bee takes a different number of days to develop and go from an egg till the day they emerge. Happy birthday! Queen bees take 16 days, worker bees take 21 days, and drones take 24 days, and they each have a different role that they perform in the colony. The drones, male bees, do not have a stinger and cannot sting you, whereas the queen bee does not have a barbed stinger and can sting multiple times. All the other bees are female and have a barbed stinger. Generally speaking, if a worker bee uses its stinger to sting something or someone, it most often dies. So to put it as one young lady we were teaching about bees said to her brother, "You got stung by a girl." Let's find out about the jobs that honeybees have throughout their lives. When worker bees emerge into their new honeybee home, the first job they have to do is to clean their room. They have to clean the honeybee cell from which they just emerged, and then spend the next couple of days cleaning the hive and keeping other baby bees' young larvae warm. Though they have wings, it will take several days for them to fully mature, and they can't fly. On about day 3, the worker bee gets a new job. They are the nurse bees. It's time to start feeding the older larvae, and the larvae that will likely be nearing the point at which they will be sealed into their cell to finish their development into a full-fledged bee. The worker bee will spend a few days doing this new job. On about the 6th day after the worker bee has emerged, they are given the responsibility to start feeding the youngest bee larvae. This is a very important job as it impacts the future generation of the colony. They will keep this job for about a week. The honeybees are getting to be almost 2 weeks old now, and their job changes again. On about the day 12, the worker bee is now producing wax. Only young bees can produce wax, and they can only do that for a short time. They start taking food from the field bees that have been gathering pollen, nectar, and other resources from outside the hive and carry the food to the places where it's needed in the hive. They are also now a part of the construction crew, building or repairing comb. They are given the task of taking care of the dead. They are also known as undertaker bees, dealing with bees or larvae that is dead or dying. On about day 14, the honeybee will take its first flight out of the hive. All the bees that emerged on that same day, up to about 3,000, will gather at the entrance of the hive and take an orientation flight. They fly out a very short distance from the hive entrance and fly in almost like a figure-8 pattern right outside the hive. They're memorizing the hive and its location. They may also take cleansing flights where they drop their waste. It's the first time defecating since the bees don't poop inside their hive. It's now about day 18, and for the next few days, the bee will be in charge of security. They have the job of being guard bees. The bee will monitor the hive for threats that might include bees from other colonies, wasps, or other intruders, including the beekeeper. They also monitor the hive for disturbances from outside, and that might include skunks, bears, or other things that may become a threat to the hive and colony. Around the time the bee turns 3 weeks old, 22 days, until the end of their life, at about 40 to 45 days, the bee gets its final job, forager. These are the bees that most people will see. You will see them out in your garden, local parks, out in nature, wherever the bees can find what they need. They are responsible for flying out of the hive to find and gather resources the colony needs. This includes nectar, pollen, water, sap from conifer trees, etc. The foragers also know the dance, the waggle dance. When a forager returns to the hive, they communicate with other bees that they found a resource that the colony needs. They do this by using the waggle dance, which tells the other bees direction and distance to the needed resource. A special job. Some of the forager bees might be considered elite foragers and get a very important job. They may get the role of scout bee. When the honeybee colony expands to the point of creating a swarm or needs to vacate its current home for some other reason, these specialized scout bees are tasked to find a new location where the colony can relocate to. They are the vanguards of the hive. They have a good understanding of the local area and are excellent flyers. Most of the bees people see, unless you're a beekeeper, are female honeybees, and they are between 22 to 45 days old. Another interesting fact about the foragers: they may fly many, many trips out of their hive, so many flights that their wings ultimately become tattered, and one day will likely make a flight and never return, unable to fly due to the tattered wings. So what is the difference between summer honeybees and winter bees? As we've just discussed, the summer bees live up to about 40 to 45 days if they make it to live out their whole lives. Winter bees, on the other hand, will live much longer. In some locations, winter bees can live up to 6 months, and they have an important role for the bee colony. One of their main jobs is to regulate temperature. Honeybees try to keep their temperature between 90 to 95 degrees year-round. Summer bees will gather water like a tanker and bring it back to the hive, and then release the water and use their wings to create a swamp cooler effect to lower the temperatures. If it gets too hot inside the hive, you might see a whole lot of bees exit the hive and hang outside, often referred to as bearding. Winter bees huddle together inside their hive into a cluster of bees. They will generate heat by using their bodies, dislocating their wings, and vibrating themselves. If the bee gets too cold, it will move to an interior space within that bee cluster to warm up, trading spaces with other bees that haven't cooled. Constant motion. The winter bees also might fall into a torpor, a state where they don't require as much food, keeping in mind that the bees don't try to keep their hives at 90 to 95 degrees. They try to heat the cluster of bees inside the hive. Aren't those bees interesting? We sure think so. The bee colony has many occupants and many jobs that need to be done, and there are still many things we don't know about bees, and research is ongoing. We hope you've found this video informative and maybe you learned something new. I often say that I learn something new every time I work with the bees. If you would, please consider liking and sharing this video. It helps us out tremendously if you decide to follow along and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate you all. Just a programming note, did you know that you can find us on OBBM TV network? You can see all of our videos and watch via Roku, Rumble, or online. We'll put a link down in the description. Thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time.